What do you think the reason was Oppo did not release both their new phones announced in the US? Um, I think it was a number of things. I think it was a number of things. I think when what it comes down to, you can pinpoint like I can give you two or three specific examples of why they chose not to release it in the US, but I think there's one word that encapsulates everything under one umbrella, and that is uncertainty. There's just uncertainty with the government here. And that's specifically directed at the FCC. Um, Tariffs, although somebody did correct me in the comments today and said tariffs don't affect phones. Okay, but what about the parts in the phones? Look, and I'm not a government basher, and again, we're not going to do politics, but it does directly involve what we discuss here, which is tech. And I think uncertainty in not knowing what the FCC is going to do on April the 30th, which is in 8 days, right? They vote on the China electronics ban. I just think, because here's the thing, if you're Oppo, marketing is very, very expensive. They have to have their own marketing campaign, their own graphics. They have to, they have a whole rollout here for each region of the world. If they chose to launch it in the United States, they would have to invest millions of dollars in commercials, social media ads, New York Times, in Manhattan, where they have all the billboards and everything. That costs money to advertise, to promote. So I think in their mind, why would they spend millions on millions of dollars of not only just advertising, but you do have to get it certified by the FCC before you can sell it here. And the FCC has put China Electronics on the backlog because they know that there's a vote on April the 30th. So the FCC is saying, well, why are we going to certify this right now when we have a vote coming up on April the 30th? You see what I'm saying? So for Oppo, from Oppo's point of view, it does not make sense with all the uncertainty and the FCC certifications are not cheap. So Oppo's, I think they made the right move. As much as it sucks, as much as I hate to admit that, I wish it was available. I wish we could just go online and order it and click a few buttons, make a payment, and then the phone will be here in a week, like with every other phone. I think from Oppo's perspective, if I was in their shoes, if I was an executive at Oppo or BBK or whatever the hell it is, I think they made the right decision. Because they don't want to bet, they don't want to gamble millions and millions of dollars for advertising and certification just to get stiffed by the FCC and the US government and or a ban when the rest of the world is full, all systems go. People are ordering, they're shipping out phones. People are ordering, money's coming in, they're shipping out phones, while the US is giving Oppo the middle finger or the cold shoulder. You see what I'm saying? It just doesn't make sense for Oppo. Again, I hate it that it's that way. I really, really do. But I don't blame Oppo. Right? They got to protect their pockets. They got to protect their company. They don't want to get phones stuck in limbo. What if 125,000 people from the US ordered phones? Well, let's say they had them. Let's say they had them. Let's say they had a US rollout, and you and I and 125,000 other people ordered the phone yesterday. Oppo ships them to customs. But what if the FCC and or the US government and or customs, what if they say, whoa, 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 whoa. This is a China phone that's really that they're shipping here that our customers are buying? Nah, screw them. Put them in the warehouse and we'll just say customs is inspecting the packages. And then what if they sit in the warehouse for 6 weeks? You're going to have some upset customers. And who are they going to blame? They're going to point the finger at Oppo. They're not pointing the finger at customs or the government or the FCC. Because, a person just wants to buy the phone. And so they're like, well, where's my phone, damn it? Why didn't you? I paid you all this money. Where's my phone? And then Oppo's saying, well, we shipped it. It's just stuck in customs. You see what I'm saying? I can see that happening because his government is very, very petty. If you have not noticed already, very petty. And I can see them doing that. So, to answer your question, I don't blame Oppo. They're doing what they're supposed to do. They're protecting their brand. And look, they know if there's really, really diehard people out there like you and I that want one, they know you'll go on GizTop and buy it. And honestly, what do they care? People that really, really want one are going to buy one, right? So they're selling it to GizTop to sell it to us. So it's like they're just, they're just making a couple extra stops along the way, but they're still selling a phone. Units are still being moved. Phones are still being sold. So they're like, well, people that want it will still find a way to get it. So it's just, it sucks. It sucks for where we're sitting right now. But again, I don't blame Oppo. If you really sit and think about it and you really break down the supply chain, advertising, all this stuff, I don't blame them at all. Will FCC ban just after Chinese electronics going forward, or will my phone not get service? Well, that's the thing we just don't know. And again, going back to the uncertainty thing with Oppo and why they didn't release it here in the United States, we don't know. Now, I don't okay, so real quick, let's say the FCC on April 30th puts the ban on and they say no electronics sold here from China, meaning phones and anything else that's manufactured and or originates from China. Let's say that's the case, and come May, they put it in effect the day after. So if they just ban, I think you will be fine. But the point I have brought into attention in the past is I don't know what to expect from this. And again, there is a chance. I don't know if it's a 50-50 or a 99% no, 1% yes. But here's the thing. I can see this happening. I just don't know if they're going to go that far. Like, they can take it this far if they want to. And what I'm getting at is the ban goes in April 30th, right? Now, let's say the government and or the FCC, they have a lot of pull with the carriers here, with the big three, T-Mobile, AT&T, and Verizon. And then all the smaller ones fall under the big three, right? Because they're MVNOs. So what if the FCC goes to the big three and says, the big three carriers, and say, I want you to block service, meaning don't send any carrier network services to any IMEIs on your network that originate from China. Because when you put a SIM card in there, I think I mentioned it a few weeks ago, and you go online to pay your bill or something, you'll pull up your lines and then what devices you're using. Well, how do they know what device you're using? It's because the SIM card can read the IMEI of the phone, and then they send that information to the big telecoms. Well, what if the SIM card reads that you're using an Oppo Find X9 Ultra, and then it originates from China, and then they shut off your service? And if that happens, they're going to say, well, it's for security reasons. Now, they do have a point that they can use as an example, because do you remember last year when Verizon got hacked? It was a huge deal. Remember, Verizon service was out for a day for like the whole country, or a large majority of the country. Well, guess who hacked into the Verizon network? The Chinese hackers. So they have a use case, an example to fall back on and say, well, because of security reasons, we don't want any those China phones to have back doors in them. No. Now, I'm saying there's no proof of that, but I'm just using that as an example of what the government and or the FCC would say to us, the public. So I can see that happening. What are the chances of that? Probably, if you want my honest opinions, probably slim. But here's the thing. I wouldn't put it past them. I would not be shocked if that happened. Realistically, I don't know, 5% chance that happens, but at this point, anything is possible. You see what's going on around the world. Anything is freaking possible. So now, will that sway your decision to buy Oppo Find X9 Ultra? Yes, no, I don't know. Good news. Let's say that does happen. Let's say I buy the phone. Oh man, I'm enjoying it. And then boom, the ban happens, and then 6 weeks later, boom, they put they stop sending service through your carrier to all IMEI numbers originating from China. And then you're stuck with a Wi-Fi device. Who wants to do that? Now, if that does happen, and let's say you're past your return window, well, good news is that you have a phone that's very, very high in demand. You won't have any problem selling it and or getting your money back by selling it if you're past your return window, because trust me, it's very high in demand. Now you probably have to put it on eBay, right? And it'll probably be an international buyer, so you have to jump through those hoops. But you could get somebody here, put on Facebook Marketplace or Swap. You never know. You could have somebody that buys it here locally, and that's going to Europe, or that would ship it to their family member in Russia. You know, you see what I'm saying? Like, you will get your money back for it. That phone is very, very high in demand. Yes, well, I'll put it this way. I'm like 95% yes. Now, it's not going to be tomorrow. It may not be next week, but I think I am. I think by, when do they ship? May 15th. So that's essentially 3 weeks. I think I'll place an order within 3 weeks. I'm pretty sure. And here's what I think. If and when I order one and it gets here, I think I'm gonna I think I'm gonna be all in. Like, I think I'm gonna be blown away. Now I'm not saying I'm never gonna go back to Samsung. I'm always gonna have a Samsung phone, but I think I need to take the dive. It's been years. I'm talking years. I've always wanted a Xiaomi phone or a Vivo or an Oppo or one of the Chinese Ultra phones. The closest thing to a Chinese Ultra phone I've purchased is a OnePlus phone, and I have no problems with it. I know some people don't want to, use stuff that are Chinese made, but I don't care. But I think I am. Yes. Is there any Chinese brand phone with the millimeter waves 5 band 258, 260, and 261? Well, good thing you asked. Let's find out. Chinese phones. I don't know any specifically. Have you looked to see if the Oppo Find X9 Ultra does? Because you know what? That's a good question. I was just looking at, before I started the live, I was looking at a comparison between the MediaTek Dimensity 9500 CPU and modem combination versus the Snapdragon 80 Elite Gen 5 CPU and modem combination. And it did say that the Snapdragon has millimeter wave support and sub 6. And it was saying that the Dimensity MediaTek doesn't, or is missing some of the, is it sub 6 and or millimeter wave? If you go on, I'm going to share my screen here. How long have we been on? 45 minutes? Damn, I'm not even going to get to one story. Let's see here. Let me share my screen. Where is the expand? So, damn it. So here's, can y'all see that? That's the Oppo Find X9 Ultra. And you're right. All I see are the bands that essentially goes, now those are all the bands that T-Mobile uses, 5G bands, but you're speaking specifically millimeter wave, and those go up to in 258, 260, and 261. I don't see them there, and unfortunately I think that's pretty common. Now, that's because the majority of the towers that are over there and or around rest of the world might not use millimeter wave that much. Like it may just be a US thing, and they don't see any point putting that band support in their phones because nobody uses it essentially. So I'm gonna look into that after this. Join us tomorrow and or remind me tomorrow, because I think I need to do some more deep diving on specifically this topic to find out, because that's a very good question. I have no idea. Again, I'm new to the Chinese flagship phone world. So I'm learning this, kind of on the fly as everybody else is. You ordered the Oppo Find X9 Pro today through Swifttronics. Would love the X9 Ultra, but I just can't do the big camera bump. Yeah, I was debating between the two, and I think if I had a choice before the 21st, like going even back to a few weeks ago, I wanted the Pro, the X9, the Find X9 Pro, because I love the OnePlus 15. It's essentially the OnePlus 15 on steroids, right? Spec'd out with the very best cameras. In fact, I think it got best cameras all of 2025. But I think that one has the MediaTek CPU. Not saying that's a bad choice. In fact, it's a fantastic choice. But you need to know what you're buying. In where I'm at, you should have no issues. Let me put this out there. You should have no issues with your service in using that Find X9 Pro in the United States. But with my power going out yesterday and my Wi-Fi out yesterday, it just reminded me of how I literally live in a dead spot. Meaning, if I don't have Wi-Fi, good luck getting service. It just is what it is. I cannot afford, because I was saying that earlier on another comment, the Dimensity 9500 with that modem, you can Google it too, with the modem, it is missing. I wish I had saved the info. I was just looking at it. It's missing one or two bands, right? That the Snapdragon 8 Gen 5, Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen 5 has. So in my shoes and my Wi-Fi going out yesterday just reminded me I have to shoot for the very best mobile network experience. And in my shoes, I think the Snapdragon processor provides that. So it's kind of like a personalized thing with me. But I think you should be A-okay with the X9 Pro. In fact, I would have no issues using that. Could say that's a better buy because it is cheaper. And can you really tell the difference between photo quality and the Pro and the Ultra? Look, I'm sure you could, but the Pro is still like top 5 on DxOMark. So, good purchase. I think that's a good one. Yeah, OnePlus 15 lacks millimeter wave. That's just up to it's up to the manufacturers. The Snapdragon has it available. It's just up to the manufacturer, OnePlus. It's up to Samsung to what they want to activate inside that modem. Yeah. But you think it feels unnecessary. 5G plus midband is still working like a charm.